Hi, it's Doug. In our last mystery, we looked at some of the amazing ways that people use magnets. Let me show you another use of magnets that you might not have heard of. These. They're called cow magnets. A cow magnet is a magnet that farmers feed to their cows. Wait, what? Why would you feed magnets to a cow? Don't cows eat grass? Well, when you know a little about cows, I promise this will make more sense. You see, cows are not very picky eaters. Sometimes they don't even pay attention to what they're eating. While they're eating grass, they might accidentally eat something like this, a piece of barbed wire from a fence. Ow. Now, this could be really dangerous if it were loose inside of a cow's body. Those sharp points could cut or scrape a cow's insides. But if farmers feed a magnet to the cow, the magnet can pick up any bits of metal that the cow accidentally eats, like barbed wire or nails and screws that might have been on the ground. The metal sticks to the magnet and stays in the cow's stomach. That's actually a good thing. It keeps the metal from getting into the rest of the cow's body where it could hurt the cow. Now, I hope it goes without saying, but cow magnets are made for cows, not for people. You should never swallow a magnet yourself. But you get the idea with cows. This ability to pick up bits of metal, it's one trait of magnets. It's what we call its property. A property describes how some material or thing looks, feels, tastes, something that it does. A property is a describing word. For example, one property of cake is that it's sweet. A property of fireworks is that they're colorful. Another property is that they're loud. One property of cotton is that it feels soft. So with magnets, the property of magnets that people are most familiar with is their ability to stick to things, like to the refrigerator door. People often say this: magnets are sticky. Now that's probably not the best word. Magnets aren't sticky in the same way that tape or glue is sticky. They actually pull things toward them. So we give this sticky property of magnets its own special name: attraction. We say magnets attract or pull things toward them. But not just anything, only certain materials. Materials like other magnets and things made out of iron or steel. That includes things like barbed wire that cows eat accidentally. Okay, so the attractive property of magnets is useful. What other properties do magnets have? And how could those properties be useful? See what ideas you can come up with.
This just wants you to think about, can you think of any other properties of magnets that might be useful? So think about that for a few seconds, and then I'm going to resume the video.
Here's another property of magnets that can be useful. You saw in the last mystery that there's a special kind of train that uses magnets. There are magnets on the train and magnets on the train tracks. These magnets cause the train to hover or float above the rails. Because the train doesn't touch the rails, there's no friction between the train and the tracks. And so the train can go much faster than a normal train. With the magnetic train example, it's not attraction that's being used. It's a different property of magnets being used. What property is it?
This just says, what property of magnets makes them useful for making trains hover? So think about that, and then I will resume the video.
So magnets can be useful to people because of two different properties. Magnets can attract or pull toward them, which makes them useful for things like picking up metal objects in this junkyard or attracting bits of metal in a cow's stomach. But magnets don't just attract. We saw in the second example, they can also push away or repel. We use the repelling property of magnets to create things like high-speed trains that hover. Okay, so magnets can attract and repel, but what else? Well, check this out. Maybe you've even tried this. It looks like the magnet is moving all by itself. But now look here, you see? Really, there's another magnet underneath the table that someone is moving back and forth. It's fun. Try it out if you haven't done it before. But as you do, think about why it works. You'll soon realize that magnets have another property. This trick works because magnets don't have to be touching. They can push and pull on each other even when there's space between them, or even when there's another object between them, like a table. Here, the magnet below the table still pushes and pulls on the magnet on top of the table. This property makes for great tricks. We call this property magnet's ability to work across a distance. Now, is this property good for anything? Can you think of anything we could do with this property to do something useful?
This says, how could we use this property of magnets pushing and pulling at a distance to create something useful? Think about any ideas that you might have, and then I'll resume the video.
In today's activity, you're